And welcome to In-Game Chat for Saturday, March 29th, 2014. This is Season 8, Episode 13. I am Matt.
I'm James.
If you notice, Scott is not here, unfortunately. He is out sick, but we hope him all the better and speedy recovery, and he'll be back hopefully soon. If you'd like to get in touch with us, our phone number is 334-272-9228. You can check us out at ingamechat.net for all the links to get in touch with us. You can find us on Twitter at ingamechat.net as well as Facebook. You can even email us at everyone@ingamechat.net. We're streaming the cam feed right now through twitch.tv, and you can find us there as well and join the chat room live where we broadcast. Welcome, everybody.
Thanks, Matt.
Yay.
Thank you very much.
Good job,
I hope
man.
you
Good
never do
job.
this again.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. You know, actually, I hope Scott will be back to do this, so I wouldn't have to.
I hope he will be. He's feeling really, really bad. He's having some kind of, some kind of issues. Laying in a hospital bed. We have an excellent picture of him up on our normal in-game chat. Monitor display. R.I.P. in peace, Scott. So he's doing his absolute best to watch the stream right now. I think you could probably interact with him to some degree in the chat room. He is on wonderful various cocktails and medications, so he's probably enjoying the very best in-game chat that there has ever been.
Now he kind of knows what it feels like for me whenever I'm away and have to, catch it through the stream or stuff like that.
Are you
when
using
you can't.
morphine? And are you on oxygen when you catch the stream wherever you're at?
I'm going to plead the fifth on that.
You're going to plead the... I don't think... You're not allowed to plead the fifth in your line of work.
I'm not? Oh, man. I'm
No,
in
you're
trouble. But, yeah, so here we are, a Scottless in-game chat. But, he's here in spirit, obviously. So we're all going to try and do our best to, soldier on.
Yep. So, where are we? It's been a really, really strange week. I know we're going to get at some point to what we've been playing.
Yes.
I think that's really only going to come down to about one thing.
1.5.
1.5 things.
Because, I did beat the other one. So but we'll get to that later. But mostly one thing.
Mostly one thing. Not that I really like doing this, but I can't avoid the throngs. We really should spend the first half hour on tabloid
Really big news.
No,
Yeah.
tabloid news. It's
Okay.
always tabloid news. You know that.
Yes.
Like, it is big news, but one step removed, it becomes tabloid. So, that news being, of course, that the indie darling of hardware, the much ballyhooed, resurrection
Peripheral?
of the VR dream,
Yeah.
everything that people have been pinning their hopes on for
the wave of the future. as
the
it were.
absolute wave of the future, the Oculus Rift VR headset.
Which Scott does own
He does have
a dev
he does
kit.
have a dev kit. He's got a first generation dev kit, secondhand, but he does have one.
Yeah.
That plucky little piece of do-it-yourself hardware. Pull yourself up, bootstrap your own access to the next generation has been purchased by Mark Zuckerberg.
Yep.
Yes.
Not by Facebook, but by Mark Zuckerberg. I think it's worth pointing out for the brief amount of time we're going to spend talking about this as a business that, and I suppose it's worth pointing it out because there are an awful lot of people who don't care anything about video games. They merely care about their investment in Facebook, who have had a lot of negative things to say about this. It's chump change for Zuckerberg, right? It's $2 billion in cash and stock. But it is merely appears to be, hey, that's cool. I keep hearing VR. I keep hearing people talk about VR. I'm really starting to believe that it's an actual, that it's a path forward, right? That gaming to some degree is going to rely on having a VR outlet in the future. So yeah, I'll throw down $2 billion for that. That's nothing. I think it's cool. I think it's interesting. I think I want to be a part of it if it's going to be a part of the future. So he throws that money at it, but that's Zuckerberg. That's not the company. That's not the investors en masse recommending a way forward for the company and recommending a new form of diversification. That's him.
That's just
saying,
him personally.
I'm cool. Let me reach into my pocket real quick, and whatever I drop by accident, that's
whatever
what I'll give
happens
to your
fall
company.
out, there we go.
Right. So, yeah, there are an awful lot of people who
The internet kind of exploded over it.
there's a very small minority of people who are either genuinely positive about this or who are willing to pretend to be positive about it, because it's Facebook, and despite the fact that everyone uses Facebook, I don't think anyone likes Facebook. Really, they don't like them. They don't like their disposition. They don't like their corporate posture.
Yeah, how they're getting too much information, and
They don't
they're
like the way
always
they
right
behave
there.
with information. I think more importantly, they don't like, well, maybe less importantly, but more pertinent, they don't like the advertising. They don't like the influx of likes and shares and all of the pressure
Very
to
intrusive.
share absolutely everything you're doing with absolutely everyone in the world.
Yeah,
It has already been pointed out by better people than us that type of culture, the entire culture that Facebook has fostered and spent money developing, stands at odds to something like the Oculus VR. Because for anybody that doesn't know, this is it's like a shoebox that you wear on your face. You know, it's like it's an entire sensory deprivation chamber that you wrap around your head. You know, it's auditory and visual. And it's designed to completely remove you from the wider experience. It's designed to draw you into an arresting and an immediate sensory gaming experience. You know, it doesn't even necessarily have to be gaming. There's an awful lot of virtual tourism, other plainly dirty things that you could be doing. There's a number of things, but they're all designed to be intimate, direct, private, and that isn't what people think about at all under
With
many
Facebook,
circumstances
yes.
when Facebook comes up. So.
the question that I was wondering about is Oculus started off as a Kickstarter, correct?
Oh yes, most
So,
definitely. It has lived its entire. Not only did it start off as a Kickstarter,
but it has been
its entire bearing as a company and as a group of people has been, like I said, about being plucky upstarts.
Mhm.
You know, about
sort of back to the people. You know,
well,
they're the
it
ones
is,
that,
and
that funded
it's
it.
very
and-
much that whole American industry begins in garages
Yes.
type of mentality. You know, whether it's a metal band or whether it's Packard
Feel-
Bell or
yeah.
HP or whatever it is. They had that mentality, and people really like right now not just the ability to be involved at the bottom level of something because they can pitch in $50, $100 or something like that, but they like the mentality. They like something. They're so exhausted by the top-end corporate AAA version of hardware and software development that it's refreshing to see somebody come along and begin to pass them in the fast lane on a type of technology that's frankly it's not out of this world. It's their ability to have seen the way toward it when everybody else was focusing on high-powered, low innovation. You
Mhm.
know, I can certainly respect that as much as I don't really like the individual piece of hardware as it sits right now.
But people that backed it, is there any word on if they're still getting? I mean, that's the,
I don't know. I
to
mean,
my
I'm sure they
knowledge.
have
I
to-
think this is like one of the very first times that something like that started off at Kickstarter got bought out by a huge corporation.
at least to this
So,
degree, it certainly is.
It's one of those things that is your contract that you had with Kickstarter.
Well, no.
Was
all
that
right. See, no. What happens if? What happens if they just didn't? What if they were just like, we're done? Forget
Well,
Facebook.
yeah.
Forget all
Yeah.
that. What would happen if they just said,
No more Oculus Rift.
no more
We're
Oculus
done.
Rift? What are the consequences for them and for all of the people that backed them on Kickstarter?
I'm not sure.
Neener.
Is it
Too
just
bad, so
basically-
sad.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's
You're out of
funding a
money?
game that doesn't
Sorry,
come
pal.
out.
That's already happened with several pieces of software, many
Yeah.
different creative works that have gone through. This is one of the things we were arguing about a couple of years ago. This is not a contract. This is not a promise. This isn't even a handshake. This is it's not even an investment, right? Because you can't write it down. You can't say that this is something I'm definitely putting in for something else. The smart money
This
was
is
to
a
say
hope.
this is a gamble.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And gambles can pay off. And the payoffs have been in general pretty good because you
Yeah.
can be fairly well informed about what's happening. I'm not saying that's what they're doing here. What I'm
Okay.
saying is they are not. If you backed them, I think to the tune of whatever, I don't.
They're not bound
think
to give
you're
you-
necessarily bound.
Yeah.
I don't think you have any recourse. Let me say that if
Okay.
they choose not to fulfill it.
At least
Um,
nothing within any of the Kickstarter deals or anything.
Right, nothing within Kickstarter. This may be a different case, and this is all kind of new law. This is a new world of funding and distribution and creation and manufacture. But and I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they have any reason to do that. But
No, I don't think so. either.
I don't think that if you find yourself in the lurch, there's anything you can do about it. Anything at all. So I don't know. I mean, so there you go. That's the suspicion. That's the basics. Oculus VR, this thing that really was a grassroots kind of whip around phenom of development innovation, is now a part of Facebook. So obviously there are deep suspicions because we just generally don't particularly care for how the company is run, how they manage our data, how they manage their own, their interest in their relationships with advertising partners and all of this other stuff, and it being at odds with their very public, their very sharing oriented mantra, reason
Yeah.
for existence, and then
The idea of like a 3D VR ads, from Facebook is kind of nauseating to me.
to be fair, you are absolutely right, because it's nauseating to everyone.
Yes.
I don't believe that that's going to happen. I don't believe he spent $2 billion just to have another screen, which even at its best, on its best day, even with this $2 billion, right, and a free reign, supposedly, to do whatever he wants, it's not going to reach that many people. It is an incredibly niche project.
Yeah,
even
it's-
even on things where it's really, really good, it's not something you want to do every time.
Yeah, it's exactly what we were saying last week. This isn't something not everybody's going to have an Oculus Rift or a Project Morpheus or
Right.
whatever Kinect VR there comes out. It's not going to be in every home.
Nope.
It's-
And if it's not even going to be in every. I don't know. Of
It-
all the
it-
places that have a current gaming PC or lightweight type of gaming PC or a PS4, you're still not going to find these in one out of every maybe few hundred, because they're going to be fairly pricey, and there's not going to be a whole lot of stuff you're going to want to do with them, right? I don't want to put on my Oculus when I play Diablo. I don't want to put on my
No.
Oculus when I play World of Warcraft. I kind of want to put on my Oculus when I play Eve, but I don't want to put on my Oculus when I play a 2D platformer necessarily. So
Yeah.
that's neither here nor there, and it's not to disparage the product. It's just to say that there's no way he spent the money because he knows what it is. He knows it's not about the end. The Oculus isn't the end goal. It is merely a step. He's smart enough to know that.
Yeah.
So he didn't spend $2 billion on a niche project just to have another screen to throw ads on. That's not what he's doing.
And the Valve, you hear the Valve R&D head, Michael Arabash, joined the Oculus team as the chief scientist.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. That was announced, just a
Like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
couple days after the
yeah, just
or
right
just right after the
Facebook.
purchase was announced, which means they were
Yeah.
already working on it.
Mm-hmm. So
And he joins, obviously, Carmack, who is
Yeah.
the chief technology officer who came from
id.
id.
Yeah.
So those are two very, very big names. I imagine, if a lot of the rumors are true, that wooing those guys away from their former parent companies to come be a part of, the innovations at Oculus were a huge portion of that $2 billion.
Yeah. I
They
can
were
see
they were
that.
a large part of that valuation. It's worth a lot more with those two guys because those are two of the better minds in the industry for the things that they do, the things that they work on. So, supposedly, according to Zuckerberg, they've handed out the money. They've said, come be a part of us, but you're going to be completely independent. You can do whatever you want to do. Yeah, I don't know. What Instagram, I guess, more or less gets to kind of do that, right? They didn't have their further development guided directly by his hand. So, on the one hand, I get it. If you go into a forum somewhere that's defending the purchaser, saying, look, this is a company that at its best had an innovative project but was struggling with money.
Yes.
Even on a good day, they're going to be struggling with money, tens of millions of dollars possibly, but on something like this, that's not a lot of money.
Because this is, I mean, that's a big thing of hardware that they're trying to work
It is,
out.
and hardware
and software
is very difficult
for-
to iterate and develop.
Yeah.
And one of the things they get to do now is they don't have to use essentially secondhand parts. They don't have to use off-the-shelf parts. They can now fab custom hardware. They can say,
which
we
has
don't
the
wanna
potential to
use-
make it even better.
No, it absolutely has potential to make it better. And it needs it,
Yes.
as a matter of fact. It needs to
mean-
be more than just a couple of iPhone screens.
I mean, imagine if it's more panoramic while you have it
It
on.
really should
so
be
that
more
way
panoramic.
you'll have
My-
your peripheral
yeah, like
vision.
My
not
personal
so
big
tunnel.
problem with it was the field of view and the
Yeah.
lack of periphery.
Because I know, like, when you play, you typically go for, like, what, 90?
Fisheye,
For
man.
fit-
I'll,
yeah.
I'll go.
You really like a wide...
If I could see the back of my
field of
own
view.
ears, man, I would do that.
But if you could do that now with this, where you have the screens, that, with especially with the you have the the OLEDs, screens that can kind of curve.
No,
I know.
I think those cost $2 billion a piece
Oh, geez.
at this point.
But I mean, if
Yes, I know what you're talking about, though.
once I mean, those will eventually go down in price. As technology typically tends to do.
Yeah.
So if we could get something like that where it does wrap completely around your head instead of having two different screens, but
That's,
like
that's a lot like what the Morpheus looks like.
yeah.
Sony's headset looks like it's a lot more
Looks more
panoramic in its
wraparound.
in
yeah.
its view.
Well, Sony has the money to throw at that. Ish.
Depends on. I don't know. That's not entirely true.
Yeah.
Sony as an entire company
Mhm.
is not doing particularly well. You can carve out certain sections of the company that have the word Sony on them, and they're doing just fine. Electronics is not.
Yeah.
TVs and whatnot. TVs and cameras and such like. Gaming division seems to be doing okay, but we're in a generational turnaround.
we just
There's
started a
no
new
way to look at
generation.
this and be like, oh, you're raking it in, because you're not yet. But despite that, let's say that he's being honest. Let's say
Mhm.
that he is being earnest, at least, and saying, yeah, absolutely, they can do this. He also said, I believe this is the future, and I bought it because I want to see it do, there are things I want to see it do. Well, then you have some goal. You have some idea of what you want this thing to be.
Some direction that you want
Yeah.
them to take.
And I think that means that you intend to have your hand on it at some level.
Maybe
And-
not like totally overbearingly into it, but
Right.
pulling the strings a little bit.
Guiding a
them.
little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's telling that there is such a huge backlash, that there are so many people who are simply not. They're not happy about this, either because it's no longer a grassroots project, because they don't like Facebook directly. I think it's absolutely fair, even though this is probably a minority of the consumer base. But whatever they might have been about to do, whatever version of it they were about to release and move forward on, you can imagine that that's now changed completely, right? Why take the old path of development? Why follow the old step-by-step iteration when you know that you were just going to have to be funding it in the old ways? Now you can look at all the things you wanted to do, and you can sort of turn the clock back just a little bit and think, why should we release this version when we actually want to involve, maybe panoramic displays, maybe better processors, building custom screens, what have you. We can't expect for the release timetable to be the same now. So
Yeah.
it's back in the direction of the drawing board, if not the drawing board itself. You know what I mean? Does that make any sense at all? This is the impetuous part of me that wants my stuff. I want to see stuff come out, and I don't want to hear that. No, it's going to be great. We're all getting older. When I was 17 years old, and you said the thing was pushed back, we're just going to make it better. It's fine. Time is infinite.
Yes.
But the time is not infinite, at least not my time. So the further something gets pushed back, the less interested I am in it. But I don't know. That's me. I don't know if I have the time to put into it anymore, into waiting for it.
Yeah. I think, it'll definitely be interesting. I know one person who's not happy about it, and that's Notch.
Wait, what is his problem with it, by the way? Because I don't actually get along with Notch fairly.
He just
very
said
often.
that, he said Facebook creeps him out. So he pulled out all the Microsoft support, for,
Well, here's
Minecraft support.
Here's a bit more detail from
Yeah.
Notch. Facebook is not a company of grassroots tech enthusiasts. Facebook is not a game tech company. Facebook has a history of caring about building user numbers and nothing but building user numbers. People have made games for Facebook platforms before, and while it worked great for a while, they were stuck in a very unfortunate position when Facebook eventually changed the platform to better fit the social experience they were trying to build.
It seems like he just wants to get out. He doesn't want to do anything with social things. He just wants to do gaming, straight gaming. And I don't think Facebook is the platform he wants to do it on.
No,
Anyway.
and he can also afford to have that opinion. He can afford to have pretty much any opinion he wants. He's made his deals with presumably evil companies, but he has still maintained a relatively small operation. He's maintained a really hardcore following of people that appreciate his very simple product, and he's made an enormous amount of money being independent, at least on the PC side of things. And fostering creativity in the way that he sees fit. So he can afford to maintain like a certain philosophical position, right? And we complain all the time about people who don't, as if it's their real opinion, which it usually isn't. It's usually dictated somewhat by the work they're doing, the line of work they're in. He doesn't care. He doesn't have to care. He's Notch, and he's got his money, and
he can do whatever he wants.
And he can do whatever. He's got the fedora,
I'm not saying that he sold out to Microsoft for the Xbox version, but I mean he has made,
to some degree, yeah. For certain value of the term "sold out," he did. He made a publishing partnership deal with them for a single platform.
It's not like Microsoft's actually known for being the, bastion of righteous company all the time either. They've done some stuff too. Maybe not to the extent.
No, sure, but they are some things that he pointed out that Facebook isn't.
Yeah.
They are a technology and a games company.
Yes.
They have been better in the past, and they haven't always been good stewards of their own IP and the things that they own and their own past successes even. But they are those things. Not that I want to see Oculus in anybody else's hands. And I suppose that's kind of I guess it's a good way to wrap up the problem. What else would you have them do? To be fair, how old is old boy? The kid that runs this is like 20 something, right?
Not terribly old at all. No. But
And if somebody threw $20 at me when I was in my 20s, I'd do whatever they said. $2 billion?
Yeah,
I wouldn't even know how to count. I mean, that's so beyond my realm of
yeah,
understanding.
Do you want Oculus to say, no, we don't need $2 billion, man? I guess ideally that's what people want them to say, and they
Ideally,
miraculously have $2 billion sitting in their back pocket.
If
they don't,
I think if people could have whatever they want, they would want for Oculus to have been Robert Space Industries, Star Citizen.
Yeah.
okay.
They have been 100% completely crowdfunded, and what are they at now? 30 million.
Something like that, yeah.
So, I mean, I stopped counting
and
at like
people
25.
still keep on giving them money.
And they have not made any partnership or publishing deals with anybody else. They have not sold the farm to gain hundreds of millions or billions of dollars. They've stayed a steady course, and they have had a relatively small, considering the massive amount of money they've made, a relatively small contingent of supporters who have nonetheless really believed in what they're doing. I think those people are a little kooky because there hasn't been an awful lot to show for it yet. But you know what? This is your thing. And they have done exactly what you wanted. They have stayed kind of within the confines of that user supported, entirely user supported, and therefore user accountable group of people. I think that's what people would like to have seen from Oculus.
Well,
But we don't get what we want, do we?
no.
Not very often.
Well, and the thing is, this will pass. It, like all things, the
Knee-jerk reactions.
Yeah, the internet hate cycle will find the next thing in the line to get.
Well, the
angry
internet is about reacting immediately.
Yeah.
And you have to have your opinion immediately. And I don't know. I doesn't mean I think they're wrong.
No, yeah. That's,
But I also think that
they can have a few good points, but it's kind of like,
first post has to be a joke, right? The
Yeah.
topic is Oculus is sold out to Facebook for $2 billion. It's no longer the company you thought it was. So the first person who responds has to be making a joke. It has to be one line. It has to be a quip. It has to be acerbic and funny. And it doesn't matter if truth is involved at all. And unfortunately, truth is almost always more complicated than the joke. So this might actually turn out good. Again, personally, I didn't care much for what they were doing. They hadn't shown me anything other than what I thought was a proof of concept. Hardly something that I wanted to play video games on.
Yeah.
So,
But you saw
fine.
the potential.
I absolutely see the potential. I've known the potential in my nerdy bones since I was
forever.
5, man.
Yeah.
I've known it and I've understood it intrinsically. So, more power to them. And you know what? Even if it's not them, even if it's not, Zuckerberg's VR and Oculus that actually becomes the real success, they're pointing the way and they're showing that someone with a lot of money and with some concern for the future of technology is spending big money on it. That's going to spur other people to get involved as well.
Yeah. And this news did put it into the forefront of people and, got it out to them where they might not even known about the Oculus.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, wait, what's Facebook doing? And so it's making news. So, they say there's no such thing as bad publicity.
They're wrong.
Well, they say
They're absolutely wrong. In the end, though, I think what's
But
going to happen,
if this does get more people interested in it.
it'll get more people outside of Oculus, outside of Facebook interested. Sadly, though, it means that the Oculus is no more primarily about video games.
Yeah.
It's going to be about other things eventually. What those things are, I'm not saying. And I'm not saying they're ads. But video games are
Not the only concern.
not the main chance of that thing anymore. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Sadness, I suppose, for a lot
Yeah.
of people. But we'll see. Let it cook for a few weeks. Let it cook for a couple of quarters. And then see what they have to say about it. That's what's important at this point.
All right. Interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
I
So
think that
probably about
leads
time
us
to
into our first break.
first break.
All right. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. If you'd like to get a hold of us, our number is 334-272-9228. Or you could join us live at twitch.tv, join the chat room, and be part of the conversation. So, what have you guys been playing?
Diablo.
Diablo?
Diablo 3 came out. Did you
All
know that
about
Diablo
Diablo
3?
3.
Well,
I heard rumors of this.
Reaper's
Yes.
Reaper
of Souls came out, right?
The next big expansion pack.
I mean, we already talked about this because they
they released a lot of the
released
mechanical
the
changes.
mechanical changes and the patches and everything that set the stage for all of the updates and all of the further adventures of my guy the Nephilim.
Correcting the loot drops for
Right.
everything.
But the actual expansion itself, being able to go up another 10 levels, see
new
all the
act.
new
Yeah, it's just dropped Tuesday.
it just came out to just
this past Tuesday.
a few minutes before midnight. Or no, a few minutes
Yeah,
before
few
11 hour
minutes
time. We
for-
stayed up pretty late.
Yeah, because it was like 11 o'clock our times when
Yeah,
it
something like
hit
that.
servers. And interesting enough, was there any server issues because of that coming
No.
out? It just
Nope.
was like, Act 5's open, go have fun.
Yeah, it was, to be fair to past comparisons of Blizzard's performance and the natural assumption people have that any launch is horrible. All launches everywhere run by all major companies are horrible.
There's always day one patches. There's always
There's
I
always
gotta wait
server
for the
downtime.
install.
There's always queues. There's always lag. It's that's actually not entirely the case. Big patch days where they're actually rolling out major changes to the infrastructure of a game or to the main game files on the server side are usually pretty bad. But
Because there's a
2
lot that goes
weeks-
into that.
Oh, sure. But 2 weeks before Reaper of Souls launched, Reaper of Souls was already on your computer.
He just didn't know it.
Yeah, it was already slipstreamed in with all of the patch data. Everything was already there. There was simply, there was essentially a software switch that said nobody has access to any of this stuff
Until this date.
until this point in time. And they just, boop, hit the switch. Basically, if you were in the middle of a game, you had to drop out of the game.
Yeah, then-
As long as you were playing the game prior to Act 5, the base game had 4 individual acts. Act 4 ended with you killing Diablo, and then a cutscene, and then terrible loot dropping, and then the credits roll. In this one, like Jeremy and I played, and we were just kind of hanging out, like, maybe however long before the Switch was supposed to go, and we just decided to run through and kill Diablo, and it rolled cleanly over into Act 5. Not one hiccup, not one problem, didn't have to disconnect and reset.
Nice.
Nothing. Totally live, totally smooth. Hot upgrade all the way through, so.
Wow.
Are you even playing Reaper of Souls yet?
Nothing.
Not yet.
You are seriously not even
I
past
can't.
Act
I don't have
4.
access to it yet.
What?
I don't have access to it. You have to beat
How do you not have access to it?
because don't you have to beat the other 4 acts before you can play it?
Wait, that's what I'm saying. You literally are still not past Act 4.
No.
We're,
I never beat Diablo 3.
because it was horrible.
Yeah.
The
So,
Diablo 3 that
I-
was released 2 years ago.
And I got up to I guess heaven area.
Yeah, the Act
Yeah,
4.
that's the beginning of Act
Yeah.
4.
So
but in the first difficulty.
yeah,
Because
so,
the way it was when it released, you had to play entirely through the game, Act 1 through Act 4 in the basic difficulty.
yes.
And then
Then you can go
start
to the
over
higher
in the second highest
yeah.
difficulty and play all the way through. And then all the way over again to get to Nightmare. And then you could finally access Inferno. It was terrible.
yeah.
It was really, really, really terrible.
So what I did is I was playing through as a wizard first time, and I got up to Act 4, and then the game was just it was what it was.
Right.
But when they repatched it, I started over again. I just started a new character. I went with the
only 5.
Demon Hunter.
Demon Hunter.
So that's what I'm playing through now. And so I just started with Act 1, and now I just beat Act 3, and so I'm just starting Act 4.
Okay.
So once I get done with that, then I will go right
Okay,
into Act 5.
so-
but I just hit level 61 too.
All right. Yeah, then you're ahead of the curve a little bit,
Yeah.
actually, which means you're going to, I don't know, maybe you're not in a great spot. Maybe because everything in the game levels with you, right? All of the
Mhm.
enemies are going to be whatever level you are, unlike a lot of other games. So cross your fingers for good equipment.
Yeah. Well, so far I have pretty good equipment. I was able to.
I don't think you do.
Well,
I really think you don't.
I have bearable equipment, I guess. Then I was able to go through Asmodan pretty easily.
Yeah.
Between I have
What difficulty are you on?
just normal.
Jeez.
Well, just because I'm trying to
Man.
I'm trying to get to Act.
Do
5.
you have any idea how easy normal is?
Yeah. I haven't died yet.
You
so-
sneeze on things and they die in normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Don't be
the
expert.
Oh
Don't-
man.
Just do what everybody else did. Die a lot against champions and elites, like I did playing through this game, and still do in adventure mode.
Normal is terrible. Normal is because you're not making any progress. You don't get any bonus XP. You don't get any bonus money.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm just trying to get to Act 5. I'm just trying to beat
God,
the
you're
main
on-
game first.
I could get. I don't think you understand, man. I could get from the beginning of the game to the end of the game on normal in like 2 hours. Not at 70. I could do it at 60.
Mm-hmm.
I could get there in 2 hours. You've been playing for like 2 weeks.
Here and there, though. You know.
2 hours is here and there.
Yeah.
Shouldn't take you. I see how long you're logged on. What are you doing?
The
Are
way
you
I
changing the colors on your clothes?
No.
Yes, you are.
Actually, no.
Are you dyeing your gear?
Not dying
I
the
bet if we
gear.
go
I'm
look
not
up the
crafting.
achievement
Are you
right
looking at
now,
how? Are you
all
looking
the
at how
dyes are
fabulous your
used.
character is?
He's probably like almost all the way through the Mariner's dye achievement.
Yep.
I haven't even
Jeremy's
tried,
been doing that a lot.
I haven't even tried dyeing anything yet.
I don't understand what. How do you?
I just go
I have
all the way
never
around the
understood.
map. I do
I
all
have never understood. All right, well, that's not helping you very much. It amazes me. Like things just lay down and die on normal. On normal difficulty, things don't even fight back. They don't fight back. It's like stage combat. Nobody's actually doing anything that's going to cause you any damage whatsoever.
I think the most I've ever been knocked down is about half health. But that was like when I was getting swarmed by some of the elites and stuff like that.
I'm aggravated. The reason I'm aggravated is we can't play together. I mean, we can, but it wouldn't really work, right?
Well, it's because he'd go into your game and would just
He would get
die
murdered.
over and over again.
He would get completely destroyed immediately because everything would be set at my level. If I go into your game, I would die physically in the real world from boredom. You need to catch up so that we can.
But see, that's what I'm
so that
trying to
we
do.
can
I'm trying to
play.
get up to there so that way I can catch up.
And you're doing a very bad job of it. congratulations, is what I'm trying to point out to you.
Go get up to expert so you can get your XP bonus. When you get through Act 4, bump it up to master. Die a lot, like no joke, just over and over again. But you'll get XP bonuses, and you'll be happy when you hit 70.
Yeah. And then we can do what the game is, we should talk about what they actually offered in the expansion, right? Because for a lot of people, it didn't seem like $40 was worth it for a loot patch and some randomization. But to be fair, Act 5, the narrative is...
The narrative is Diablo.
The writing in
That's
Diablo 3 is not...
Is anybody playing Diablo for the story, just out of curiosity?
Did
you play Warcraft for the story?
Well...
I played it to watch things die.
Yeah.
I played it to punch things in the face and get sweet swords for it.
Right. I will say... Let's look at it like this. You don't play exactly for the story, for the narrative, but you play, I guess, for the lore.
Yeah.
If that makes any
Yeah, I
sense.
can get that. I love
For the sense of the universe, for having something in the universe. And when they do such a terrible job of presenting the lore to you, it feels a little bit like it gets very tedious, which was one of the big problems of playing through Diablo 3 the way it was already, is that the only way to experience the game was to step through an otherwise very linear game in story mode. Even all you wanted to do was farm up sweet swords, right?
Yeah.
Get some XP, get some gold, get some gems, get some gear. And that's what it's always been about. But you had to allow yourself to be guided through the story. The awful, awful story. You couldn't simply be in the world, soaking in the lore, and just doing whatever you wanted to do. So the fact that the writing is not good at all, maybe even worse in certain respects. The story progression in Act 1 actually wasn't that bad.
No, Act 1 was pretty good.
At least parts of Act 1 were super good when Tyrael and all of his shenanigans.
3 was... Yeah.
3 didn't have much story going on at
No.
all, but it was my favorite set of environments from vanilla. But 5, Act 5, the new act that they've added to the game. Again, the narrative is not particularly good, but they nailed the environments.
Yeah.
The environments are absolutely top notch.
I love
They are.
Pandemonium was
They
my
are.
favorite
They
overall.
are far bigger, almost entirely randomized. I don't think there is a single. I don't think that there is a single pre-built area map.
Don't believe so.
I
no.
think they are. I think they are all randomized modules, which is an awful lot of fun, and they are all super big, possibly too big.
Blood
But
Marsh in particular was like really big. And
it was a
I
bit
kind
big.
of got in Blood Marsh was kind of like, I kind of want to be done with this now, and be through this area. But that's about the only point where I felt like it's like, no, this is just being a little too much to go through.
Hmm.
But I mean,
Yeah.
some things like, man, Pandemonium was great. It looked.
It looked great. It was really, really good to see it. We didn't spend enough time there, but
No, it was narrow hallways and such, but
yeah.
man, it was still good.
And
I
so,
just love the design.
and so now at level 70, is that where they start getting the Paragon points for your character?
Well, Paragon points are anything that you could earn. You've already got Paragon points on your character, don't you? Didn't
No.
you hit 60? Oh, that's right. You're terrible.
I
at this
just
game.
hit...
Um,
jeez.
The Paragon points happen anytime you're at max level.
Okay.
Any experience you would have accrued towards the next level goes toward Paragon points.
Yeah. No,
and you
I just
can-
hit 60
You
after.
can
it
accrue
went live.
those infinitely, essentially. There is it's not a soft cap, but there is a flattening to the curve of experience later on, something like level 800.
Yeah,
or something like
there's
that.
only so many you can put into the various things on some of the
Except for the core
attributes.
abilities.
Yes.
You can put points into core ability. 200 will cap you out on a lot of the utility and defensive abilities, but your core stats can be upgraded infinitely.
Okay.
So, but once you do not have to be 70 to run adventure mode, but you have to have completed
You have to complete Act 5.
Act 5. So to be fair, you may as well stick on normal mode so that you can simply get through the game and unlock adventure mode.
Because adventure mode is nice.
How is that
Basically,
different?
It is basically the old all the stories open. There's no story quests interfering with your progress. Like if you went back to Act 3, all of Act 3 is open to you. You can go anywhere. You can just hit M to open up your map and travel to any waypoint in there if
Okay.
you want to.
All 5 acts, any waypoint in any act, all of them are open simultaneously. So what you'll do is, you know how you can, when you launch Diablo 3, you can go into the game settings.
Yeah.
And you can choose either the campaign or you can choose adventure mode and rifts. So you choose that, you start the game, it'll put you in one of the 5 act towns.
Does it randomly do that?
It does it based on where there's a bonus.
Okay.
And I believe every day, I believe that's the cycle, 2 of the 5 acts will have a bonus associated with them. The way you play it is you essentially just drop into one of the acts, and Tyrael's sitting there, and he's like, blah, blah, help people, blah. And you're like, okay. So you open the map, and you can go and look at all of the, say, 24 different waypoints in that act. Every one of them that would have been unlocked during your progression.
Yeah, and 5 of them will have special events like
Right.
kill Asmodan in Act 3,
Right.
or
Clean out level 2 of a particular cave.
or do the Cursed Shrine event in this area,
Right.
something like that.
So you go and you do that, and it is considered a very particular. It's considered a completion, and you get some experience, you get some money, you get blood shards, you get some little shards of some other sorts that are
The blood
used for
shards
the
and the
rifts.
rift shards, which the rift shards open up the Nephilim rifts, which are like truly randomized dungeons for you to go through.
Right.
Like, very different tile sets on every level, different enemies. You can have an Act 4 tile set with an Act 1 enemy showing up in it.
right.
Just
And so
all
it's
kinds of craziness.
all of the bounties allow you to bounce around to each of the individual places in the game, and you get all these extra bonuses. You get all these really nice extra rewards, and then that allows you to go into further different random battles.
All right.
Yeah,
So do we have a
it's-
caller?
It
Yeah,
sounds
we
like
have
we
a caller.
do.
Let's put them on. Oh, hang on.
Hello.
We'll have a caller in just a minute.
All righty. Trying to work this out.
All right.
Hey, welcome to In-Game Chat.
Hi guys, this is Zufo from the chat.
Hey,
Hey.
Zufu.
Hey.
Hey, I just wanted to first start off by saying, wherever you are, Scott, I hope you feel better, and I hope you're enjoying that morphine high wherever you are.
I'm sure he
in
is.
response, Scott says, yeah.
My question was about the recent news about Unreal 4 licensing going to be $19 a month, and you have full access to the engine.
Right.
And a lot of people are really happy about that, but my concern is going to be the same situation we have with the mobile market, where there's going to be so much saturation, it's going to be hard to find those gems with everyone putting out a game, you know what I mean? What do you guys think?
I do know, I guess I could sort of feel your concern there because, looking at the mobile market between either, the iTunes or the Android marketplace, there's just a litany and just a lot of just stuff that I'm not interested in. Just all those mobile games out there, it's like you're being overwhelmed with them.
Right.
And it's hard to, I guess, sort through and find out, like you said, those gems, those ones, unless you maybe saw a review somewhere or maybe you heard something, just opening up, the iTunes or stuff like that, it's really hard to pick something out of there.
Well, I think the number of projects that are going to be developed now that there is an affordable version of the Unreal Engine is still going to be less than the number of projects developed for mobile markets. Those are much simpler games, and those tools are much easier to use.
As opposed to coding for a whole
as opposed to
game.
coding for like a fully realized game engine. But even if you, regardless of how many get set out, the real problem, and this relates somewhat to the concerns people have had about Steam recently, isn't so much the number of products on the market, but the cultivation of all of these games, but there not being any curation of them. You know what I mean? There's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of games out there. How do you find which ones are worth something and which ones aren't? Do you have users vote on it? Do you go by total number of sales and popularity? That can be gamed pretty easily. if the person that's making the game has the right amount of support.
I will say it's kind of humorous that I never would have thought that like we would see a point where it's like too many games is the problem.
I never did,
It
even
is-
10 years ago, that was
Yeah.
a ridiculous idea. The thought that there could be too many games and most of them would be garbage simply wasn't true. I mean, there was a lot of garbage games, but it was so easy to pick the good from the bad because there were so few games overall. Already we can look at the indie market and look at the things available on Steam and recognize that, like, how do I know which of these is any good? How do I know which of these developers is worth my time and money? They're all like Bob from his own garage, right? So how am I supposed to trust him? There's no developer history I can look at. There's no paper trail or publishing history. There's nothing like that. So it's absolutely a concern. What you need is a trustworthy storefront. And even the best storefronts we have right now are rubbish at getting this done. So, yeah, that's fair.
I think it needs to be a change in the model because right now we're still on the old, maybe even 80s, 90s system of you have like a really popular websites like Game Informer or IGN, and then they review the most top tier games, AAA, and everyone based on those reviews goes out and buys games. But that kind of leaves a huge void for a lot of the independent games that are really good, but don't necessarily get the attention or don't have the advertising that EA might have as a publisher. And you have things like Flappy Bird, which isn't the best game in terms of gameplay, but it just happened to catch on. It became viral, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's the best game in the bunch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's actually one of the better arguments in a long time for having more outlets than just Steam, right? Because of the exposure, because of the limited nature of what any particular storefront can do. Make it a lot easier for people to find the things they're looking for. I have no idea how to do that with as many people are making their own games.
It's something that's decried a lot, but I mean, okay, how? That's the question. That's the question. If you can answer that, you stand to make a lot of money.
Facebook.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
Facebook will curate the games collection for you. I have no idea, but your concerns are absolutely valid. Someone's going to try something. If the tools necessary to make a very good game are no longer cost prohibitive, I think one of the next steps is going to be the ability to either distribute as a storefront or to highlight in kind of a direct-to-consumer sort of way. You know what I mean? Like a storefront that doesn't necessarily host games themselves, but allows you to index them and sort them and find exactly what you're looking for.
Well, like if you say that the tools are going to be easier, with the Unreal Engine, being able to get out to more people, I would like to see how many people could tell a compelling story, and make a compelling game out of that as a, with that kind of engine.
It takes time.
It does take time, but how many people just say to themselves, I mean, I know I've been there so many times throughout my life saying, man, if only I had a way. I have this story I would love to tell. I'd like to put it somewhere, have someone experience it. I mean, how many people do that? I'm sure that I can't be the only one. There's got to be plenty of people out there.
Well, the story.
Or at least we
thing-
think that we have a good story to tell.
No, I mean, I'm
but,
sure most people, I don't want to say most people, a lot of people don't even have a story to tell.
Yeah.
They have a bird to flap.
Yeah.
Right? They have a simple gimmick that they want to actually put out there, and they think that this is going to make money because this is a simple gimmick, and nobody has any nobody has an attention span anymore. So I need to get my thing out there. It needs to make sense. It needs to be immediate. You need to understand the entire game within seconds, not minutes or hours. So, but even if that weren't the case, you have a game with a story, a complex narrative, lots of characters, and you have a game that's just a mechanic. Which one of those is actually going to start making money first? Not the one with the story.
Yeah.
That's the project that's never going to get finished.
Yeah.
So, in that
think,
respect, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I think that Steam tried to do that with the Greenlight program, and I guess that is, an attempt at trying to solve the problem, but I'm not sure if it's been really that successful.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah, I mean, I look at Greenlight games every so often, but it's not. There's nothing there saying where I can like look exactly for what I want. It's usually I hit a website and it's like, oh, this game sounds interesting. Oh, it's on Greenlight. Okay, let me go upvote that because that sounds great. That's about it.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Well, I don't know. It's another thing we have to wait for. Somebody out there who's the next 20-something with too much time on their hands that wants to out-Steam Steam in some way. I mean, I know that sounds silly now, but if the games are all small developers, small indies, why do all of the publishing platforms have to be big guys? There's got to be a better way to do that. And I don't think it's Kickstarter. It's more about indexing. It's more about allowing people to find the things that are good and avoid the things, that aren't. I don't know. Thanks for the topic, Zufu. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Take care, guys.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to do a real quick roll call on the chat
Are you
room.
going to chat room roll call?
Yeah, let's do that. Man, I say that, and then I see the very first
And then you
name,
see
and
names
I
and
have a
turn in-
Scott moment.
Why are you? It's
Aroka?
not Arioka.
Arioka. We got all right in the chat room. We got Arioka. We got Atop a Chair. We got BBad729, Cavalier UK, Lavos, Medusa's Mirror, Moltail, Nabokov, Nathan92, Plorch, Truth Unknown, W. Matthew, and we just heard from Zufu on the phone.
And
Thanks
there
for
will be a
everybody.
test later.
Yes, I hope everyone's taking notes. And if you would like to call in, I'll get the number again. Our number here at the station is 334-272-9228. So, yes,
Excellent.
I try.
We got a few minutes left in this hour, so regardless, let me reiterate, Matt, what we were back on again.
Yes.
Would you please pay attention to my words? Get to 70, finish Act 5. This
Uh,
is absolutely
yes.
important. This is something you need to do
I will.
because I would like to see how very bad you are at adventure mode.
Oh boy,
I'm not-
we can't do torment with him in the party. It's gonna be bad.
And it'll be
Oh,
torment.
come on. I'm not that
Matt and your party at
bad.
any difficulty is torment.
Matt, I'm
Whatever.
coming through the door right now. Okay,
Okay.
here I go. Bum, 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 bum.
One time, decades ago, you make
And
one
it's
mistake.
The best story ever.
One
And
mistake.
you'll never live it down, but it's great.
But no, regardless, the one major thing that one of the major things that Diablo 2 offered people was the ability to continuously play through randomized, unpredictable versions of the game. This has created a much more entertaining version of that same type of gameplay. And it's not the greatest thing in the world, but largely because not everybody is up to speed. But playing with a group of people, going through your own rifts, never being able to predict what it is you're actually going to come across is an awful lot of fun. It's really, really good. I'm excited for everybody to put in as much time as I have and get up to that same level of difficulty so that we can all be playing together. And then we all roll hardcore characters.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw you playing the hardcore character.
Yeah, I've got a baby hardcore character.
I just.
Currently permadeath character,
Oh,
by the
yeah?
way, RJ.
Ugh.
So
Okay.
you would appreciate it. You
Yeah.
absolutely would appreciate it. It's a
would.
completely different type of style, much more restrictions. They don't care how much gear you have. They don't care where you are in the story, how long the character has been alive. Doesn't matter. One death is your only death. See, there's this little smile over there. I can see a little bit of a smile over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Hello, memories of Dead Space, going through that hardcore mode in that
Oh,
one.
I forgot
yeah.
that was.
Yeah.
Dead Space
I
2,
didn't
right?
realize, was that permadeoth?
Well, you only had like
Oh, you only had like three saves.
Three saves.
That's what it
Three
was.
saves throughout the
So
whole game.
effectively the same thing. Yeah.
Mhm. But we just had to be real careful going your playthrough.
Yes, really careful. All the time, forever. So,
Okay. Well, let's see. We're coming up on
how
top
much
of
do we
the
have?
hour.
We've just got a little bit left
Little
in the
bit
hour.
left.
Just a little bit.
Yeah,
You beat the other game.
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
You did beat the other game.
We can talk about that afterwards. I do really hope that I'm going to be taking my laptop with me when I go, and I really hope that I'll have internet connection there, so that way I'll be able to, continue play.
From the place over there.
Yeah, from
Where
the
you
place
going?
over there.
Afghanistan.
Yeah. So I'm hoping so. So that way I'll be able to continue to play some more Diablo. So
Matt, you're a terrible person.
I try. All right, so yeah, go on the top of that. I have no idea what song this is, so if anyone wants to take any guesses.
Mega Man.
Mega Man.
It's
Yes,
always
it
Mega
is.
Man.
Always.
So we'll be back with some in-game chat.
Music here is from Dark Souls 2, I'm guessing. Since the last one was Mega Man. No? Anyways. You can
How
reach...
creepifying would, like, Dark Souls or... Like, that would be awful, right?
There should be no happy music in Dark Souls.
No. But what? No. Look, there's a certain kind of horror trope, right? Where you have a terrible circumstance or a terrifying encounter of some sort, but you have the music isn't like the music doesn't fit, it doesn't match the scenario. You know what I mean? Like it's how like the creepy carnival music.
Yeah, a bit of dissonance in it from
Right.
the situation.
Exactly. Something I don't know, super happy, like some Japanese pop music or
something
you
from
know,
My Little Pony or something.
erasure or
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah, put
something
that in
like
there. Let's
that
see what
in Dark
That
Souls.
would put so many people off their game, I think. That would
I
be
think
so
if you
weird.
had the right happy music at the right scene in something scary or at least intense, like Dark Souls, it could make it worse. Sometimes I know that it's a bit of a balm. I'm sure I'm not the only one that had to play yakety sax in order to get through certain parts of Amnesia.
That would be the only
If
way
you-
to make that bearable.
It's really the only way to add a little bit of to kind of yuck it up while you're being chased down. You have no weapon and nowhere to go.
Mhm.
It's just Benny Hill it.
Yeah.
It helps a lot because I'm scared of games.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't blame you.
Speaking of Dark Souls 2, RJ, you play
Yes.
some more of it?
Yeah, I played a little bit more of it since our last conversation. So far, right now, I'm going through an area called the Lost Bastille for the second time. Now, the first time I went there was not.
You're still on your
pleasant.
first playthrough of the game.
Hmm?
You're still on your first
Still on the first
playthrough
playthrough of the game. But this is the second time I've been through that area.
How many hours do you have? currently?
16.
Okay.
16 hours so far. So, as I said, I'm in the Lost Bastille for the first time, a old, worn-down prison. The first time I went there, it was, like I said, it was very pleasant. I didn't last too long. I got triple teamed a lot. Didn't make it through that area, but I managed to find a way out of it. Then, the second time I got to it, I went through an area first called No Man's Wharf. Now, despite the fact that there were beasts and monsters laying in ambush and people throwing oil on me to light me on fire, yeah, that happened.
Wow.
Man, they really want no man
Yes,
there, do
yes.
they?
Dark Souls, they want you to die. They want you to die in horrific ways and as often as humanly possible. But the thing was, though, managed to get through there without dying by enemies at any given time. No. How do I die in this thing? I fell off a pier.
Were you rolling, dodging?
No, I was focusing. There was an archer on a level above me, and he took a shot, and I moved left, and I thought I'd try to flank him to get to another area, and before I knew it, I'm falling off a pier.
Nice.
And that's it. Done. So, getting back to that, managed to make my way through that area and find my way to the back end of the Lost Bastille, and I'm going through that area. So I know it's going to be a struggle because of what I went through the last time. But I'm a little stronger now. I have a little more power in my shots and upgraded my equipment to the best of my ability right now. But the durability is still an issue. I mean, before you know it, you'll get a warning that says your weapon is about to break. And you have,
the equipment durability.
Equipment inventory, durability is very light in this game. I don't think I have anything above 60 points of durability on my person right now. So I'm looking for bonfires and repair powder all over the place if I can get to it, because there's been many times when I've been at the point where my weapon's about to break and I got no backup, so I have to pretty much go through with fists or throwing knives and just try to find a bonfire as quick as I can. But
Fists?
Yeah, fists. Punch it if you have to.
I don't think I would ever punch anything in Dark Souls.
Yeah, you will.
I don't want to do that.
It's not about.
I'm
what you
afraid
want.
of punching those
That's not
things.
about what you want. It's about what you got to do to survive.
If
you
my
gotta
weapon
punch it,
breaks, the
punch it.
game is over.
Hmm?
The game is over. If my weapon it's over. I have to quit and start over.
Well, if your weapon breaks,
I'm not
you'll-
touching those things.
Look, if your weapon breaks, you'll just die and start at the last bonfire.
With a but with
Well, I think it'll come back. I'm not sure.
Oh, well,
Every time I've been to a bonfire, my weapon has gone back to full strength.
Does it? What's the cost of that? Is there like a? Do you have to spend souls?
No.
Or
if you go to a blacksmith, yes. But if you rest at a bonfire, your weapons come back to
what
full
easy
strength.
mode? Come on,
Easy mode.
come on! What a sissified, just what a elementary piece of gameplay that is. That I have no idea what I'm talking about because I don't get to play it till April.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But you will play it when it comes out, right?
until my weapon breaks.
Well,
So your weapon breaking is permadeath for you in Dark Souls?
Man, I am not going. I am not doing the sweet science with those things in Dark Souls. I'm really not.
I couldn't.
Well,
I only
you like
played.
to be
I only
defensive?
played with a spear and a lance. I don't want them touching me, and
you
they
could always be
hurt.
defensive.
Do what?
You could always be defensive,
Yeah.
parrying, rolling, stepping back, play footsies with it.
Is there a? This is kind of stupid though for me to ask because I really haven't done my research on it. Not wanting to really know too much.
Mhm.
But I never could come to terms with ranged gameplay
Mhm.
in Dark Souls 1. I mean, I know that like bows and crossbows and stuff don't exactly work. They're not a very immediate weapon. There's an awful
No.
lot of lag and travel time, and they're not something that you really base an entire playstyle on. I know that there are elemental magics, right? Like casting.
Yeah,
It's like pyromancy of some sort.
Pyromancy, miracles, magic, things of that nature. You still have those spells and whatnot. Now they have hexes, I believe, in there as well. I'm not sure what type of class they fall into. Maybe miracles. I'm not sure because I
Is
haven't been
there-
able to get a hex yet.
Right, but is there can I be a wizard? Can I be a caster? Can I rely more heavily on that type of gameplay? Because I do love close in, heavy armor, sword and board,
Mm-hmm.
shield bashing gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, a lot of my time in RPG style combat I spend really being a ranged or a caster class.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, in my experience with Dark Souls, I never felt like that was the kind of gameplay that I was going to be comfortable with or good at or able to get my head around. Is that something that's...
Well, I mean, you can do it, but in my experience, looking at it,
I mean, if it's hard, I don't want to do it if it's hard.
You want to do it at all.
I want to do. I'm trying to find out the easiest way to not be terrible at this game going into it.
The easiest way not to be terrible at this game.
Man, I am at I should know better than to ask you certain questions.
Because I'm not.
Because your answer is just harden up. I know that.
I'm not thinking of easy anyway because
Start
like,
memorizing frames and everything.
No, I'm memorizing frames, but in terms of your casting ability, whatnot, I know you have a limited amount. So I think the most rudimentary one is Soul Spear, the rudimentary magic, and I think you may get 15 to 20 shots when you first get it. So you're going to run out of shots pretty quick if you start relying on that. So you're going to have to really work on your sword and shield play to get through mobs of enemies before you rely on that. It's still going to be secondary. I don't think it'll ever be your primary weapon of choice. I mean, if you can use it, you can. But like I said, you're going to have a limited amount of shots to it until you find a bonfire or some item of equipment that lets you have more time to more shots with it. But you're going to be focusing mostly on your sword and shield play.
Nabokov was asking if dexterity is still a big deal. He says he's only played Demon Souls thoroughly, but he was wondering if the how the balance is with dual wielding affecting things.
Well, dual wielding, I believe, doesn't matter which hand you have it in, because I think the swordsman, when you first start out, has a sword, a scimitar in one hand, and the a short sword in the other. No defense really, unless you switch to one hand and block that way.
Right.
But I don't think it matters which hand you have. They're powerful in each right. In terms of dexterity, dexterity affects how powerful certain weapons can be, because certain weapons have a damage modifier based on your stat. So, like for instance, the mace that I use for my cleric has a strength modifier of a B grade modifier. So the stronger I am, the higher the bonus I get when I swing and hit the enemy with a mace. Dexterity works the same way. So if I would use a spear, for instance, a spear is a weapon that takes a lot of dexterity. Bow and arrows use a lot of dexterity as well. I think there's some A-ranked bows. If you have a lot of dexterity with a bow, they can do some serious damage.
And when you
if
say
have high dexterity.
A-ranked means A-ranked for dexterity, right?
They have the modifier for the weapon.
Right, so like each weapon has modifiers in each of those stats,
Yes,
or the
each weapon
primary
has modifiers
attributes.
in certain ones. Like like for strength, it has a C modifier. In the dexterity, it has like a E. It's like very little to no
Right.
bonus. Like
So for every point in each one of those attributes,
in
you
strength
gain
and
more
dexterity.
skill in a
Yeah.
particular weapon depending on how it's ranked.
Yeah, the higher
Okay.
the stat is, the better it performs. That's how it works for dexterity and strength in that nature.
Okay,
But,
so right now, I know what your answer is going to be. I'm going to ask it anyway. Of the Souls games as they are now, where does this rank for you?
Well,
Demons, Dark 1, and Dark 2. How do you feel about the progression of, not a single franchise, obviously, because they forked after Demon Souls, but
let's see. Dark Souls 2 feels like maybe a little bit like more the same, but a few more attributes and whatnot. It's still like you were saying earlier, I know you were joking about it being easier with bonfires, but yeah, it is a little easier because the first bonfire you get to, you can travel between any bonfire you've ever been to. In Dark Souls,
only the ones you've been to, correct?
Only the ones you've been
okay.
to. So right, so you got to find, when you discover them, they'll be available to travel to.
That sounds so. I want to go home and load up Dark Souls 1 and have it do that.
Yeah, that's not happening.
I know,
It's not
which is
happening.
why I'm not going to go home and load up Dark Souls 1.
Mhm.
I'm going to go home and load up Diablo, which does do that.
Yeah, I think you had to buy, had to have a certain item to travel between bonfires. The Lord Vessel, I believe, but in this one, it's available right off the bat.
Right.
I
I mean, which is okay
yeah.
if the world design and the encounter design and everything is designed with that ability in mind.
Mhm.
Which,
Yep.
I mean, that's fine and that's fair.
Mhm.
I've heard some conflicting opinions about level design and area design.
Mm-hmm.
That there seems to be a sense that the game is becoming, that it's losing a little bit of its the tightness in the controls. It's losing a little bit of the consequence in your actions for particular fights. Things are less unique. That the enemy positioning and the area design is a little less well conceived.
Well, like I said, I thought it felt like more of the same, really, like ambushes, like blind corners.
Yeah.
If you play Dark Souls 1, you know better than to walk around a blind corner without checking the area first. You know better. So if you get killed, that's your fault.
And
Walking around a
and
blind
everything
corner.
still works that way, right? It's still
Yeah.
the same Every time you load the game, it's the same enemies in the same placement.
From what I've been, yeah, same enemy, same
okay.
placement.
So it is a question of like memorization and patterns, and knowing how to approach a series of encounters.
It's the same thing,
in a
trial and
number
error.
of
If it's a
different-
new area, you're going to go there. You're not going to know what's going on. When you do, and you die, you go back. Now you know what's coming. When you go the next
Right.
time, it's the same format
Now,
that it was for Dark Souls.
I have heard that you can depopulate an area essentially. Is that true? I heard
I mean-
like after you've gone through like 10 or 12 times, the enemies stop respawning essentially.
No, I haven't.
Really?
I don't think.
Yeah,
they
that's
stopped
what I've heard.
respawning.
It's supposed to be like about after you take down a particular enemy like between 10 and 12 times, it just stops spawning. It's no longer there.
Huh.
There's supposed to be an item you can use at the bonfire to repopulate the area, but it bumps it up to the next difficulty level. To
I think if you burn something called a bonfire ascetic, I think it's called.
yeah, I think that's what it's called.
So-
It makes the enemies tougher, but I don't know about depopulating. It makes
Yeah,
them tougher. It makes them
I've-
like new game plus mode.
Yeah, that's
difficult.
what I've been hearing is that you can depopulate, and that's the only way to get them back in there, unless you actually go through New Game Plus.
Maybe certain enemies, I'm not sure, but I know some enemies, if you kill them, going at a bonfire that resets everything, they won't show back up again, like a major boss or a major enemy or a boss or whatnot. But I know Bonfire Ascetic was told, from what I've heard, it just increases the difficulty of the enemies.
Yeah, it's just
So,
what I've
but-
heard on various podcasts, and
Mhm.
I wasn't sure if that is a thing or not. Or
No, I haven't used one yet. I haven't had the inclination to do it, or much less I haven't found one yet. But I'll see what happens if I do. Because if it's a new game plus, the difficulty is higher. The enemies will be tougher, but they'll drop more souls, and you'll be able to level up faster if that's the case.
assuming you can make it back to Bonfire to level up.
If you make it back to begin with, or I could just die.
Right. So, where do you? What you said about 16 hours? How do you
16
reckon your progress through the game is right now?
Um,
Quarter way, halfway? Any
I'm
idea?
probably about, I'm guessing about a maybe little over a quarter of the way.
And we're talking about
playthrough.
through. I want to say the main story, but Dark Souls doesn't exactly work like that.
No, I mean
There's a minimum. There's a minimal path
Mhm.
through the
Yeah.
game, but there's an enormous number of things that unlock as you go along.
Hmm.
That
Because you discover areas, you go
Right.
through them and whatnot. Not a lot of like side quests or things like that. I mean,
no,
you
they
probably
don't
have
really
little-
present it in that. And I'm assuming that that's the same way, right? That most
Mhm.
of the story is hidden story.
Yeah, as you
more
go
or
through and
less,
talk to
right?
folks.
It's not
As you go through and
overt.
talk to folks.
You don't get like
the-
Mr. Exposition telling you everything
Mhm.
and how this world works or anything
Mhm.
like
Yeah,
that.
you'll find like certain people you can talk to multiple times, and more of their story comes up, and they'll talk about things going on in the world, and you'll piece it together from there. Just the more people you interact with, the more the lore will expose itself to you.
I don't know, man. I don't
Go
know.
on, pick it up.
Huh?
Go on, pick it up.
I
He's
sort
going
of.
to get the real version.
I hope I'm going to get the real version. We haven't seen
Does,
anything else about the PC version yet.
Does
Yeah.
Solier show up again?
Who?
Solier, the Covenant of the Sun guy.
I haven't seen him yet,
Nah.
but there's
Oh,
probably
is that the guy from the Praise the Sun
Yes.
gifts?
Jolly Cooperation. Yeah, that guy.
Yes. Jolly cooperation.
I have a hope,
Mhm.
right? I have a hope that I will click with Dark Souls 2 in a way that I have not clicked with 1.
Mhm.
I feel like I missed out on 1 because I came to it far too late. I was waiting for the PC version, kinda, sorta.
I felt
Yeah.
that way about Demon Souls.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this series of games is something that is best experienced at the height of everyone else's experience, if that makes any sense. I feel that way generally about video games, and I felt like I just totally missed the boat on Dark Souls 1, and I didn't play it intensely enough. I didn't devote most of my time to it for the period of time that I was playing it, and I think it's one of those games that. Well, I think your experience really shines if you do that. I think Diablo is the same way.
Yeah.
I think really driving through it, spending a lot of hours on it with a lot of people that are also spending that time on it is very rewarding. But I didn't do those things. And so I felt that every time I've tried to dip back into it, every time I've tried to play it again and sort of reach out to the zeitgeist, and like see what the discussion is about it, I'm I'm reaching into the past of what people said an awful long time ago, or I'm talking to people and watching people online that are playing it for the 30th or 40th time. They've spent 1,000 hours in the game. I feel a little bit lost with it. So I'm interested in playing a Souls game on day one, simply put. And I'm hoping that changes the nature of the experience for me somewhat, because there's something really unfriendly, more than the obvious, and difficult to engage with about Dark Souls, if that makes any sense. I don't know. I'm not trying to make a judgment about it. I'm just saying that I hope that I can I'm beginning to lose faith that I'm even going to be able to get through 2 or 1 before 2 comes out. We don't get along, you know?
Well, look, if you ever, like I said, hey, I'm here. So if you ever need any assistance, let me know.
I need assistance all the time. For all the time I'm playing the game, that's when I need assistance.
He needs a hand to hold. He needs a soapstone sign to activate.
Yes, I do. I need a pocket friend, I need somebody right there.
You need some jolly cooperation.
Right, but I need it to be human. Take whatever meaning you choose from that.
Instead of the folks, they'll tell you to jump at the edge of a cliff.
I enjoy those guys. But it's why I don't trust anything that I've ever read in the game.
So you've been doing that? Have you, other than Diablo, Dennis? Anything?
What else is there but Diablo? What other game is there? I hit things and I get stuff, and I do it for hours on end, and it's great.
There's nothing I want more than that orange or green beacon when I kill an enemy.
Yeah.
There's nothing. There's like that thing. What's his name? The guy from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, Sala.
Yeah. When no.
No.
In the very first one,
yeah, Alfred Molina.
In the very first one, when like Indiana Jones is he's got the bag of sand, and then there's the golden idol, and then like Alfred Molina's in the background, kind of like doing the thing with the fingers and the eyes and his face, like the little greed thing, like waiting for him to grab it. That's me every time I kill anything in that game. I want my legendary. I want my set piece. I want my plans.
Your golden idol.
I want it. It is the most incredible craving to kill a loot pinata and hope that you hear that little bang, the sound of a nice legendary item.
Is there anything in there that helps you increase the possibility of that happening?
There are several things, as a matter of fact.
There is difficulty for starters.
Raising your the ability to have certain items drop is increased if you are playing at the maximum difficulty or in the span of maximum difficulties as an incentive to get you to play there. It's a broken incentive because the speed at which you can acquire them is better than the bonus chance you get for playing at a maximum level. So
yeah, playing through on like normal mode is actually somewhat more beneficial, just because you're not dying as much and you're taking down more dudes. You get more rolls essentially, as opposed to getting fewer rolls but with a modifier attached to it. It's actually makes a bit more sense to get more rolls on that table. Just be able to kill enemies easier and take care of them that way.
There are a number of unique and powerful items that only drop in the higher difficulties, so that's a further incentive to play there to get those things. But there's a direct stat called Magic Find, which increases your chances of finding magical items by a very small amount. There are temporary buffs found in the world that can be applied to your character for a period of minutes that increase the ability for you to find gold and magical items. The rate that they drop at is increased when you're playing with other people. So playing by yourself, playing at any given difficulty by yourself is much less efficient than playing at that
With
same
a group.
difficulty with more people.
Okay.
So it goes along the route of Borderlands, because there's something I always say, more people, better loot.
Yeah.
Well, and Borderlands is Diablo.
Just
The
guns.
entire concept of Borderlands was a first-person Diablo, loot-based type of thing. It is very much the same thing, just in a different perspective and a different fictional genre, So Yeah, nothing right now, and I mean nothing. Not even old boy's neon powers running up the side of a building in Infamous Second Son. Nothing comes close to even a crappy legendary dropping off of a boss.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, other than being apparently terrible at Diablo 3, as I guess I am, I disagree. But whatever.
You can disagree with facts all you want to. It doesn't change the nature of the fact.
I did beat Second Son, and I know Scott did as well.
Yes.
So I was able to do that before Tuesday when Diablo dropped.
Now, Scott played through primarily on. He played first through time on
bad,
on evil. You played on good.
I played good.
Okay.
Yeah, and so now I'm doing I started a second playthrough as evil, but then again, Tuesday happened in Reaper of Souls, so that kind of got pushed to the
right
back. But I did beat Second Son.
Yeah.
And
what do you think?
From where I talked to you about it earlier, you said you got your third power.
I did get the third power, and I didn't play much beyond that. I got the third power. Acquiring any particular power in Second Son is actually, it's acquiring a power set.
Yes.
Right. It's not a single power, but
because
it's
have
an
so
array.
much. Yeah.
It's like
you have so many shards. You have so much.
You kind of get like a resource almost. It seems like.
Well, yeah, you get a resource, and you have to accrue half a dozen or more ways to spend it. You get a traversal power, like a travel power. You get
a heavy power.
A heavy power. A weak cheap power. You get a ranged power, a melee power. You get a special and like a super, like an Uber of some sort. Like a major
diving up into the air and coming
yes,
back.
Yes, yeah, you get some version of that.
Haven't played through it all. The second one, the Neon, is still my favorite.
Neon's just pretty comprehensive. It's the traversal power.
Yeah, the traversal is all around the best, in my opinion.
I think it's not as good in certain fights. I think in certain fights you need to be able to
just zip away quickly.
Yeah, and I think that smoke is a little bit better for that, and then possibly the third power.
And even like smoke, where you could zip, really quick up and through an air vent, and then
right.
It does have
if there's an air vent,
if there's one close by.
Neon doesn't care.
Yeah, you just run up there.
Neon doesn't care what is in your way.
Yeah, you're
going to climb up it.
But the third power, I was really let down with the traversal power.
I wanted it to be unlimited.
Yeah,
but the traversal is essentially the same as smoke.
Yeah, so
it's two little bursts through the air, and then
should we give maybe?
No, I mean I'm not gonna say what it is. I'm just saying that the traversal is essentially identical to smoke.
Yeah, where you could
maybe a little bit better.
A little bit, but I mean the fact that it's limited, where you have to actually, it's not a constant like Neon. Once you upgrade Neon, you constantly go. And this one, I was expecting more. Especially when I saw what I was going to be getting, I was like, "Ooh, that's going to be awesome."
Yeah, it wasn't quite as awesome as you had decided in your mind it was going to be.
To me, it felt like just a reskinning in a way of smoke. To some extent.
To some extent, yeah.
And the controls weren't actually good on it at all. So yeah, the traversal power for that one was the weapons for it were okay. And everything. I honestly, once I got that, I went back to Neon, and that's why I stayed throughout the rest of the game. I did get, once you do get the fourth power, you're kind of limited with that's the only one that you could use. When you get it.
Story power, huh?
Yeah, it's story power.
Wow, that's understandable.
It comes kind of late in the game.
Right.
So
I'm imagining it's associated with final or near final boss encounter.
Yes.
Okay.
But I guess afterwards, as with Infamous 1 and 2, it says, hey, now that you beat the game, you could go back through and clear out the different areas. But I had already done that. That's how, like how I play Diablo. I make sure that I clear out all the side quests. I clear all the areas out first before I go into the story missions. That way, once I was able to get a new power, I have plenty of shards. I could just, upgrade to the max all right then and there. Mm-hmm. And so this was the same way. After I beat it, I'm like, I guess I could just run around and fight random crime, but it's
not terribly rewarding.
No, not at all. The incentive to do it was really not there. And to me, it felt like the island that you're on, because this is the first time you're actually in a locale, a real location. You're not in Empire
Right,
City.
you're not in Empire
you're
City,
not in
which is like
Numara. New York.
New
or-
Marais.
New Marais, yeah. Sorry, man. I am really taking over for Scott today.
Yeah.
But you're not
Yes,
New
you've
Marais.
never been bad at pronouncing things.
I know. I'm
ever.
usually like spot on with this stuff.
You are usually never spot on with anything.
But for this, you are actually in Seattle, which is a real place. So, but
Good job.
to me, it just felt like the map was smaller than Infamous 2. Just the area that you could travel around with and everything. They broke up Seattle into two different areas, but it felt smaller.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I
it's-
guess the time that they spent was more towards the graphics and everything, which look fantastic.
It does look fantastic. It's cuts a few corners here and there.
Yeah.
But it's solid frame rate, not locked.
Yeah.
Would have been better if it was locked. I don't know. Some people don't mind variable as long as it's above 30. Some prefer locked. I don't know.
I was able to finally get into the paper. I guess the side quest was.
The paper trail.
Yeah, paper trail.
The paper trail stuff.
I was
yeah.
finally able to do that, and so once I unlock, now that I'm going through as evil, once I unlock that area, I'll be able to
Right.
start that up.
Okay.
So at least that'll be something else.
Yeah, it's. I have not finished it. Clearly, I'm not even all the way through a single playthrough. I'm on the line with its value
Yeah.
right now. Kind of don't feel like it's really there. I was going to do it anyway. This was the first real thing that I felt was
A PS4
a
title.
PS4 game.
Yes.
I feel like it made an awful lot of concessions to the complaints that were made about previous Infamous games, and in
Which
doing so,
Kind of like 2 felt that way about the previous,
Right.
so
It's
it's a
very-
continuation.
right, and it's so streamlined. I think that
Yes.
the gameplay, the power acquisition, and your progression from zone to zone is too streamlined.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's too fast. I think the acquisition of all of these things comes too quickly, and there isn't as much. People complain sometimes about things that they think they don't like. And at the top of their brains, at the objective part of the discussion, if they were forced to write it down, they would tell you, I hate this and this is a scourge upon gaming. But in large part, I really think gaming is designed to tap into our primitive self a little bit more. It's designed to tap into your lizard brain a little bit, And sometimes you have to just sort of relax and unclench and just let a game work the way it needs to work without thinking too much about it. And I still contend that the repetitive progression of Infamous 1 was, that rate of doling out was nearly perfect. It was almost perfect. So this gushing progression in Second Son really, it's like, well, why even go smash the box to get my power out? Because all I have to do is go from this box to that box, which is 60 seconds of time, smash the box and get a new power. There isn't any special effort involved. There isn't any particular scenario that I have to work through, and there certainly isn't any kind of challenge. So it's the absolute bare minimum of effort to gate me
Yeah, that sounds kind
between
of
powers.
boring.
It's just a little too kind.
It's
Yeah.
Just a little too kind. I think it needs to. I don't know. I'm sure some people are fine with it. I'm sure some people think that tedium doesn't belong in gaming anyway. I think that gaming by its nature requires a little bit of tedium. And that sounds ridiculous. You don't ever write that on the back of the box and use it to try to sell it to somebody.
Bullet
It's just
point,
something your
tedium
brain knows
included.
even if you don't. So
Yeah.
neither here nor there. I enjoy it. It plays super good. It just doesn't have legendary drops.
Yeah.
So it's going to sit there for a minute.
All right. Well, on that note, we'll be
We're gonna
right
take another
back.
quick break.
Yep.
We'll be right back with more in-game chat.
And welcome back to In-Game Chat. This is the last segment that we're going into. Anybody here know what music this is? No clue?
Mega
No?
Man.
Mega Man, yes. Mega Man it is. That's what our story, we're sticking to it. You can get a hold of us if you want to. Our number here is 334-272-9228. Or join us in the chat room. That way you could help direct the conversation. So, last bit.
You ready to buy an Xbox One?
I hear supposedly about price drops going on really quickly after their launch.
All right. First off, I haven't paid an awful lot of attention to those price drops.
Yeah.
Right? This is not across the board.
It's
Right?
getting there.
No. I mean, across the board means across the board.
Yeah.
Across the
Yeah.
board means Microsoft says,
Let's just drop
$500
it.
is too much money. We're announcing a price drop on the system. And then the retailers follow suit, right?
Yeah.
That's not what's happening
No.
here.
So
It
far,
was,
I think what the Walmart
Walmart was the very first one to say
It was
Xbox
the bundle?
One bundle with Titanfall will be $450.
Yes.
They were the first ones, and then
And I think
after
actually
that,
Microsoft themselves dropped it to $400
Microsoft
At the Microsoft store.
at the store.
at the
yes.
store.
But I mean,
That is a
that's-
far cry from them,
Yeah.
as the platform holder saying, yeah, we're dropping the price of our system. That's what price cuts mean for console systems. They mean that the person who owns it, whether it's Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, Sega, it doesn't matter. Hey, it now costs this much money. This is how much
Yeah.
it costs. It's up to the retailers to follow suit. And they do, because if they don't, they'll lose business. Going the other direction isn't incredibly common, particularly not on a system this new. So we have to be clear that the system is not inherently getting cheaper. There are certain retailers and certain outlets that are selling the system for less.
Yeah, in addition to Walmart and the Microsoft Store, Target and Amazon with a promo code is doing it for $450, and that's about it for right now.
So yeah, basically they're just giving away free copies of Swords of Titanfall.
And selling the system at a $50
Yeah.
discount.
Yeah.
I mean, giving away free copies of Titanfall is neither here nor there. That's something that they no doubt paid for when they made whatever deal it is that they ginned up between Respawn and EA. So, or, yeah.
Yeah.
Regardless, that's perfectly fine. They want to give that a game away to add some concept of value to the Xbox One. I don't really begrudge them that. It needs something. Both systems need something. People seem to be perfectly happy with it as a multiplayer shooter. It's fine, I guess. I can't really say that it isn't. If enough people are enjoying it, that's perfectly fine. It means I'm going to look kind of, I'm going to knit my brow when I look at those NPD numbers, when they talk about how many units they've moved of Titanfall in the next month or 2 months, when they've been practically papering the world with it.
Yeah, so how many of those are sitting in Xbox One consoles on the shelf?
Right. Well, it's basically comp games.
Yeah.
It's designed to fill their user numbers. It's designed to buff their concurrent player count. So,
With
exactly. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So I have no problem with that necessarily.
Yeah.
But there needs to be something more than a really casual admission that the price of the console is too high for what they're doing.
Maybe they thought that the making of the new Kinect was more.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they thought. What I'm saying is the system costs $500.
And people
Costs $500, and you're telling me that a no campaign multiplayer shooter is the reason to care about the system. They can't even be bothered to really pimp any of their other titles. They don't talk about any of this
what
other
other
stuff.
title is there?
Well, but
there's just
stuff-
Titanfall. That's all I hear about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying that's wrong. There's nothing really wrong with that. But just drop the price. Don't toy with people. Don't drop it for some people in some markets who have access to one of your stores. Don't make it some sort of special limited deal. I don't even know if any of this is official or semi-official. It could just be Walmart deciding,
Yeah, as
We
far
have
as
a lot of
anybody knows,
stock.
it was just Walmart's
right.
decision. Nothing official.
And
as
that's
far as we
perfectly
know.
fine. I mean, it's all, I guess, fine. But just admit you have a problem. It's the first step towards correcting the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And your problem is that your system costs $500 and there isn't as much to do on it as there is on, it costs $500.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
other system costs $400. And there is
So,
there
yeah.
is rough parity with stuff you can do. So, yeah. I don't know. Not yet. Even at 400. I don't know. It's going to be a long minute before I can figure out if there's anything worth paying money for that system. The Quantic Dream thing, or not the Quantic Dream, the
Quadratic Dream?
Quantic Dream.
The Quadratic Dream.
Why? Yeah, okay.
All right, Pythagoras.
Yeah. Quantum?
The remedy thing.
Oh, Quantum Break.
Quantum Break.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was close.
No, you weren't. Neither was I, for that matter.
Yeah, that's
They
the
don't
only,
feel
that's
that
the only
bad.
one I can think of is like, okay, you have my interest there.
Yes.
Is that going to be
Definitely.
Microsoft
Yes, it
exclusive too?
is.
Yeah, it is.
Being published by
Xbox
them.
One exclusive.
Rats.
Still not enough in my case to look forward to purchase any system, any of the current gen systems anyway.
No, because you don't even have a PS4 yet.
No, not yet. Well, that's going to be a long time before I do. The way the stuff is coming out.
Yeah.
All right, so this actually brings up an interesting question. Earlier we were debating on our own before the show the relative value of the rumored Last of Us
Mm-hmm.
PS4 version,
Yep.
right?
Right.
I mean, they're not admitting to it. Sony's not saying that it's happening. Naughty Dog's not talking about anything other than the people who keep leaving their studio. So, because you were wondering, RJ, like what's the value of this? Like, who is this possibly for? How can they possibly see a return on whatever it costs them? I point out that they did this with Tomb Raider already.
With the
They came out with
HD,
the definitive HD
Mm-hmm.
edition for
the PS4. Yeah.
for the PS4. Was it both consoles? It was both consoles.
Yeah, it was
wasn't it?
both PS4 and Xbox
Right.
One.
And so we were talking about the possible value of taking a late last-gen game, up-resing it for a more modern system, and wondering if that's really worth anybody's money. To me, it makes 100% sense. It makes perfect
Because
sense.
the assets are pretty much there for the most part. You know?
Yeah, sure. Because Tomb Raider in particular already had a PC version.
Yeah.
So I see no real problem with them just taking that and turning it around on a system looking better. Last of Us puts it in pretty much the same space for me. I played the game. I've said what I think about it.
Mhm.
It was a perfectly good game, but I mean, it's ugly, man. The art design is certainly wonderful, right? Their target look, if that's the sort of thing we want to let them get away with saying, was certainly beautiful, but PS3 has done amazing things in its time, but it's no longer its time. Those games are ugly. I play 95% on the PC, and when I play on a last-gen console, I'm aware of it. At every
Stares
moment,
you in the face.
all the time. So the PS4, while still not up to par at all with my PC, is a much more comfortable experience because it's not like I'm playing a 2D platformer. It's not like I'm playing an old school game that's just been made HD, right? When you're making 3D games that are action oriented, that have a lot of effects, and that are trying to realize very specific design goals, the prettier you can make them and the better you can make them run, then in general, I think the better a game they are. As long as the underlying mechanics are still fine. So you didn't seem to think you'd be interested in playing a PS4 re-release of The Last of Us.
No,
And I'm not saying that it was something that would sell a system to you.
No, to me, it was basically the mentality of games like The Last of Us, Beyond Two Souls, things of that nature. It's like I play those games one time and I'm done. I really have no desire to play them again. I mean, there's no replay value, so to speak. And I've never been big on graphics. Anyway, like you say, you're a 95% PC gamer. I'm the exact opposite. I'm like 95% console gamer. That's what I'm used to.
Yeah.
And graphics was never really a big deal to me. I mean, I'll boot up something on a PS2 or Dreamcast or Sega CD if I ever get the inkling to. So, like I said, graphics is never really a big deal to me. So it wouldn't be something that would motivate me to play the game again on the PS4. I mean, from your description, it probably would look prettier, would look nicer, but I still wouldn't have any desire to play the game.
But I wonder how many people, like with the Tomb Raider, who maybe didn't pick it up on the last gen, this will be a chance for them too.
Well,
You know, be able to
anecdotal
play it.
evidence which is the only kind I have here because I
Yeah.
haven't looked up any of the sales numbers for Tomb Raider Definitive, but there were an awful lot of people who didn't play it the first time around.
Because it's so close to the next gen launch.
Well,
that,
you know, it was
that'd be my
like,
guess.
it's like, what is it? It's a year old. They were waiting for a price drop, and then
Yeah.
they're thinking, the new consoles are coming out, and maybe it'll get a version because that's been rumored. There are an awful lot of people, I'll point this out as well. Again, just speaking to the value of a PS4 re-release. There is a statistically significant number of people who didn't play on PS3 last generation. Every time the next generation comes around, they have to reconsider whose environment are they going to be in.
They might have skipped one.
Well, it's not about skipping it. It's about the number of people who used to be Microsoft devotees, or at least primarily played on the 360, who were not at all happy about the direction the Xbox One was going, have now, because of price and other factors, switched over to the PS4. Hey, it's $400. It is a demonstrably more powerful system. I like Sony's policies better, and hopefully they can't argue with the nature of Sony's first-party support. So there are, no doubt, many people who have a PS4 who didn't have a PS3 on which to play Last of Us. So that makes it easier in that respect as well. But, and again, I'm not suggesting that it makes you buy the system, but what if 9 months from now, maybe top of next year, they release Dark Souls 2 on the PS4, and for some reason you have a PS4. Do you replay it there? Far better frame rates?
I don't know, because all the stats and stuff that I've built up on will be on...
you have the PC version of Dark Souls 1, though, don't you?
Yeah, and my PC can't really handle it that well.
I know, but what I'm saying is you do have it.
I mean, have it,
there
yes.
is at least some concept that playing that same game in another environment might have something to offer. I'm really curious because it is beyond debate that the old versions of these games are not handling the engine very well. They're not running the technology very well. And in a game that is all about timing and your performance and your input and your ability to interact with that character in a very specific way under very dire circumstances, better performance has to mean a better game.
In Dark Souls 2, the only thing I would think about is my progress on PS3.
Right.
Because that's
and
where
losing.
all my,
I
that's where all my
I do
achievements-
understand that.
Yeah, that's where all my achievements, all my achievements and benefits that I've gotten throughout the time playing it is on there. And without that, my number one choice would be on the same last gen console as opposed to the PS4.
Okay. But I don't know. I'm interested to hear what happens in a year or so when they actually do release it on the next gen console. And hopefully there has been a reason for you to buy one.
Hopefully.
Because I don't know. I know that there are a lot of people, and I wind up on the opposite side of an argument with them all the time, that graphics just don't matter. But oh boy, they sure do. They really, really matter. They are almost the single most important thing in a video game to me. And I know we say the gameplay is more important, but I don't even know what that means. I have absolutely I have no concept of what that really, really means. I don't think you can tease one element of a game out from another and have them be unrelated to each other. If I can't play at a good and healthy and stable frame rate, I can't play. I can't do it. It's not worth I don't understand people who can. You know what I'm saying? I really don't understand it. I don't understand sub 30 frames per second gameplay. I kind of understand things that are sort of ugly, but not if they can be made less ugly.
Unless, of course, the ugly was by design.
But that's exactly what I just said. If they're ugly because they can be...
Like
if they're
Papers,
ugly
Please. I mean, that is
that's not even ugly, though.
Yeah, but I mean, those graphics are... but they harken back to 84.
It is a very specific design thing. What I'm
Yeah.
talking about is a game that has screen tearing, judder, bad frame rate, loading problems, stuttering, jaggies, no anisotropic filtering, terrible texture filtering, post-processing that makes all of the effects look horrible and slows down the game in general. If that can be made better, it'll drive me mad until I'm playing it made better. But again, I've been a PC gamer to varying degrees, a quarter of a century.
So you can't stand it if you're not playing optimally.
That's right.
Okay.
That's absolutely right. Which, if I'm given a console game that is only a console game, that thought never really bothers me. But
Because there was no opportunity for it to be.
it is what it is, man. And it's the same for everybody. It's one of the reasons that I have in the past actually enjoyed playing multiplayer most on the console. Because I know
Everybody's had the
bar
same experience.
specific cheats, setting that aside, and there's really not much I can do about it. But barring specific cheats, I know that no one's base experience is better than mine because they had more money to spend on a better computer. And that actually, I've played a lot of competitive multiplayer in the past, and that has mattered, you know? And I've been that guy, you know? I've been an LPB before. Because I remember when I got a cable modem and I was playing the first Tribes. And I remember all those poor suckers who were still on dial-up back in 98, 99.
Lag kill.
I know. Well, there was a gulf of difference between those types of players. There were even servers who, not that they could really find out, but there are plenty of servers in the world who will kick you automatically if you have greater than, say, 200, 250 ping. There were servers in the old days that would kick you if your ping was too low so that they could maintain
An even playing field, so to speak.
a relative sense of fairness for all of the people who couldn't afford cable modems. I've clearly jumped the tracks and gone off to somewhere totally different, but always seeking and driving towards that optimal play experience is something that I think is inherent to a person who's played on the PC, because it can always be made a little bit better. The diminishing returns are incredible, right? You spend $1,000 on a video card for how much more performance? But it is there, and it can always be made better. You can always load it a little faster. Frame rate can be better. You can always super sample to a greater degree. You know, that's always there. So just the concept of, well, I could play the PS3 version, but I could play the PS4 version. Absolutely,
You have to play the
I have
PS4
to play
version.
the PS4 version. So, like in this case, talking specifically about Dark Souls 2, there was no chance I'd ever play it on the PS3 or the Xbox. None at all. So, I'm just curious. I'm always fascinated about that, particularly where you're concerned, because I know that you are very much grounded in that experience. I don't know.
No, some games, like I was thinking, about this conversation, GTA 5, that hasn't, they haven't announced anything yet for the PC, but typically the GTA series has been eventually ported over to the PC.
Every
if not-
GTA game has been on the PC.
Yeah.
Every single one.
Did
Every
you play
expansion.
5?
Yes. I played 5 up until I realized it's not very good. I'm so sorry for all those people that think it is. I don't agree with you. I think it's not good at all. I don't like it. I think that some of the characters are very interesting. Also, it's ugly.
So if they did a PC
Yes,
version, then you
yes.
would definitely be down on that.
I'll tell you this. I didn't put it down because I didn't think it was a good game. I didn't think it was a good game. But I put it down because I was fighting through the fact that I didn't like the narrative. I didn't like the direction the story was going, and I didn't like their gimmick with the characters. But just as much, I didn't like the experience of playing it on a console, an old console. Or I didn't like the experience that I was getting graphically and in terms of performance.
Okay.
So I decided that I could overcome my objections to the story elements that weren't, just not hooking me, and that maybe maybe my total experience was being influenced by the fact that I was playing it on something that I didn't think looked very good. So take another crack at it when it comes out on the PC, which I hope will happen. It's already been 6 months. And usually they don't lag too much beyond that. So.
All right.
Well, just a couple minutes left.
Yeah.
What's your plan?
Diablo.
70
Yeah.
tonight?
The game's
I
level
don't know about tonight. But no, I definitely will be playing more of that this weekend.
When are you going to Afghanistan?
In a couple weeks.
At this rate, man. At this rate, you're not going to make it.
I'm gonna try.
Expert
try.
mode, expert mode, expert mode.
Sure.
Just die a lot, get the experience, be miserable, and just live with it. I'm at 68 right now, my monk. and I'm playing on master difficulty, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Die a lot, but I get sweet XP.
I'm playing on a wizard, which is broken, so it's like ridiculously. Oh, I just right click and everything dies. It's cheap. It is super, super, super cheap. I'm not even good at the game. I just look good because I play a wizard.
All right. Well, that sounds like it's about the end of that episode.
Yeah, I hope we managed okay with Scott. Hope you're feeling all right, dude. I'm
Definitely.
sure you're absolutely feeling all right. And thank you, Dan, very
Yes,
much for
we do.
running
Yes,
the board
thank you,
for us. We
Dan.
appreciate it.
Yes, man. Thank you.
More than we can say because we have
We
no
wouldn't
idea
have
what
a
we're doing.
show if he wasn't here.
Yes. We will be back next
Next
week.
week for another episode of In Game Chat. Thank you, everybody.
Take care.